we are say away, Obia, a one a master, ampa. Kennedy, I know say every case be a obewini. Na bebre na enso enim say obewini. Na case ya copy US lady and I just say announce a very announce Eddie Kennedy eti ashifom. Ebusia and one sem and I just say asa a start here a paper. Na yabeko na ya kotie a year lawyer ne ensema wodi to ja say a Kennedy ensem ne a defamation. Ebusia stating na ya mompichin sem ne hundi emba.
Kennedy Japan Defense Council also kasa slang in a Dawson, but yes, so better. Theodore ye netia someone lawyer no or catch judge about the mistrial case. Take a listen to this carefully.
This is what the jury said. In our initial finding, we awarded $18 million with a breakdown of presumed damages $5 million, actual damages $5 million, and punitive damages $8 million.
We're done.
No, Judge. I'm requesting a mistrial of the coroner to consider punitive damages in the initial, and you can't mold the verdict. I'm once again requesting a remitter based upon that, and a new trial should be granted based upon that response, Judge. They were not to consider it. They were outside of your, I'm just making a record, Judge, now if I could. Those are outside your instructions. They were required to follow your instructions. They didn't follow your instructions. You're not permitted to mold that verdict because that's not form. A judge can only mold form. For instance, and you can mold the lien if the parties agree that you can pre-tax versus post-tax income. The judge is permitted to mold the verdict based upon the specific evidence that was presented. You are not allowed to mold that verdict. That's a remitter. There should be a new trial granted, and unfortunately, they did their job, and we should send them home.
Judge, basically, my thought is on their form, which is what was submitted to the court, it did state that it was presumed damages. On that basis, I believe that the instruction that your Honor should send back was that the punitive damages and the actual damages were not included in that judgment.
Mr. Morrison.
I'd like to see the law, Judge. I think Your Honor is more than equipped than either of us to understand that when the jury sends that back and they haven't followed your instructions, and you can't send them back to re-deliberate, had they had that question during deliberations, you could have given an instruction, a curative instruction, and brought them in and said, punitive damages if not to decide, just decide. First of all, there should have been actual damages because there was only presumptive damages presented. There were no actual damages. And Judge, it's just simply a mistrial. It's a mistrial. We need to go no further.
Okay, so Mr. Morrison, it's your request that we discharge the jury, right?
We discharge the jury and you declare a mistrial, you put it back in the hopper. We'll be back in 6 to 8 weeks, either with Your Honor or another judge.
Okay, and what's your request, Mr. Chair?
My request is a curable. Is a curable error. I mean, they made a decision. Granted, it wasn't a decision supported by the instructions, but if they did come back and award punitives where they should have awarded punitives, Your Honor can correct that by curative instruction. So I don't see a mistrial here, but I leave it to your judgment, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Tahir a question. So Mr. Morrison, please don't interrupt. So Mr. Tahir, why isn't a valid verdict $5 million on presumed damages, $5 million on the actual damages, and $8 million on
accept that. The only problem I have is that they weren't instructed on punitive damages, so that would go outside the instructions that Your Honor gave them. Yes.
Okay. And so, Mr. Forster, you want to say?
Yes, Judge. I'll use plaintiff's argument about unringing the bell. We have no idea if the actual and presumed damages would have been different had they followed your instructions. We can't go into their mind. Once they say that, Judge, they anticipated something they shouldn't have. It's not a valid verdict, and more importantly, Judge, the rules do not permit you to mold that verdict. It's not a question. You're not permitted to now change that verdict. Now, maybe if it was a different verdict sheet, things would have been different. If it was broken down separately, they would have more clarity. But they didn't. But Your Honor is not permitted, once you find that out, to do anything else but cause a mistrial, because that verdict has been returned and it cannot be cured. You cannot go back and have them reconvene.
Well, Judge, this all boils down to Mr. Corsten's own insistence that we take punitive damages off the original verdict sheet. If you remember what I did, I put it on the second page, and then we had a break saying return to. So I think if they had the original verdict sheet, they would have recognized that they weren't supposed to go beyond the compensatory. But somehow he insisted that we take it off the verdict sheet completely and have a separate verdict sheet. And this is what has created this problem. It's curable, at least I think, but I leave it to your judgment, Your Honor.
Okay, the court's decision is we are going to bring the jury in, we'll discharge the jury, and then we can talk.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, please bring the jury in.
What's he? Did you see? Did you hear? What is the judge? What is asma judge in the kind? Yamina Mekasa, Ubian Kasem, Anas and Kasemubi. Kennedy, Kwame Akumpre, and Kasemubi. Obian Kase, Ghana Libyan Kasebu, Anas and Kasebu, oh. And Anas Defense Council. Any Kennedy, Kwame Akumpre, Japan Council. Any judge no muja hodia see ni. Now what's the Canadian Japan Council na catch judge no. Also what? You cannot move this verdict. You cannot move this or kasa judge no. He we ni break kwan so. It's about the saying and mo be gina Ghana ha. E catch Ghana for say hey when your verdict and that $18 million. You be chase came obi anya bi edi. You be $18 million. Obia enya bi edi obia benya bi edie ye de bi be wo fufuo di bia wo aye tuoza afiade na ne kire ye ba be break fasting di bia wo tuoza afi di bia bo apesie fufuo num ne ade ye gugugu so num ne didi ne anom. Why not? But I said mentisa it had na mu be kan tro that you know what? Another defense counsel me papa na sempa he speaks so well.